G'day, Aisha Mahar here. BPD splitting. Is it your fault? Why do borderlines split? Why do they either rage or retreat? Well, borderline splitting in borderline personality is the most major defense mechanism for those with borderline personality. Starts right in early childhood. It starts in the beginning of life, in infancy, when things are going wrong with attachment and abandonment trauma in infancy, and often with a cluster B mother. So this happens for 87% of those diagnosed with BPD, and this is the trauma that underlies what BPD really is about. So BPD splitting is the most major defense mechanism, like I said. So is it your fault? No. It starts in their infancy, unfortunately. And so then, as they get older, and can I just say too, splitting is what helps people with BPD to survive what they're going through in early childhood and all the unmet needs. And this doesn't mean that a mother doesn't meet the child's basic needs of maybe too slow and maybe not well enough, but changing diapers, feeding the baby. I mean, in some cases, this doesn't happen. But a lot of mothers, you know, do the laundry, make sure the baby has clean clothes, change the baby, kind of do the best they can. But so they take care of all of the basics, but there isn't much, if any, affection, and there isn't closeness, and there isn't the mirroring, and there's what Alan M. Shore refers to as affect synchrony. So all of this, it underpins BPD splitting. That is a major defense mechanism, the major defense mechanism in BPD. So how could that be your fault? Because this happens to them, unfortunately, in young infancy. And it remains unresolved unless they go and get significant treatment or you know, stick with therapy until they're healed and recovered. Again, BPD is about healing and recovering from trauma that might make it look like a mental illness, so it's called mental, whatever. I don't care about the words. The point is, when people heal the trauma of BPD, they no longer need to split because it's a defense mechanism. So anyway, is it your fault? Why do borderline split, and is it your fault? Well, they're splitting because it's a very primal primal adaptation to survive the kind of neglect and unmet needs and maybe more in early child, like from infancy on. And so so then a person with BPD, or is going to be diagnosed later, or maybe just, you know, be undiagnosed but still show all the patterns, that person, each person, is then when they become an adult. So they become an adult due to their chronological age, and they might have intelligence in the IQ that supports them being an adult, a young adult, to when they get older. But they don't have anything, that self inside, that where they're, you know, emotionally growing as they're growing up and getting older and becoming an adult. So then when a person with BPD, or who's going to be diagnosed with BPD, gets into adulthood, this major defense mechanism called splitting, which was an adaptation for survival in infancy and beyond, all of a sudden becomes massively maladaptive to any relational efforts, to even communication efforts. And I would refer you to my videos on, you know, borderline communication deficits and borderline communication possibility, and there's a couple others. So the point is, BPD splitting, it is the core major defense mechanism in borderline personality. It starts in infancy. It's adaptive in infancy. It helps people to survive these childhoods. But once they get into adulthood, it's maladaptive. So if you think of it that way, because this is the way that it is, knowing that, I hope, will help you to realize that when they get triggered and they split, or they're emotionally dysregulated, and or whatever causes them to split, firstly, it's very much internal, and it's in the unconscious of people with untreated BPD. And that can change if they go to get therapy, etc. But when you're with somebody who's untreated BPD, and they've been splitting on, they split on you because it's their need to defend constantly, because they get triggered so often. The triggers are not external. The triggers are internal, inside people with BPD. So is the reason that they split. So what does this mean for you? It's not your fault. And can a person, who's close to somebody with BPD, or you've been in a relationship, or you're in a relationship with a person with BPD, is so dry in here, sorry, blah. Can you trigger them? It's possible once in a while that there could be an external trigger, but more often than not, it's not what you did, it's not what you said, it's not what you didn't say, it's not what you didn't do. It's not what they're going to throw the blame onto you about, because they're going to make it seem like it's so about you, but this is their defense, because they don't know what it is. So they're just going to blame the closest person with whatever they were triggered by, upset by, maybe like 6 weeks ago or 6 months ago, and whatever they think happened today. But borderline splitting is a primal adaptation that becomes the major defense mechanism in BPD. So think about that, because then when they get into adulthood, it's maladaptive. They need treatment and therapy to change all of this. And without that, nothing's going to change. And you're going to be going through what you're going through if you're not out of there yet, and if you don't take care of yourself. And the bottom line is, so that has really relatively nothing to do with you. And it's why I say to people, and I work with clients in 31 years of doing that work right now. And so, I'm out here to work with you if you'd like to, if I resonate with you, and you want to get into your healing recovery journey. Because what you really need to understand, and what I help clients to do, there's a methodology for this, is how to not take and hold and carry forward in your suffering after the relationship is over, or you got ghosted, or whatever the case. Not carry forward this idea that you somehow were the reason they got triggered. You somehow were the reason that they split you. Because they'll tell you in words it's your fault, but it's not. You need to learn how to not take that personally anymore, how to let go of that, how to work that through. BPD splitting is a major defense mechanism, internal, and it's not your fault. It has nothing to do with you. It's not your responsibility. Hope that helps.